This is Laura.
I'm Jake. This is Laura. She is a sophomore, freshman?
Yes, I'm sophomore.
Sophomore at the high school that Karen teaches at and that I attend. And she was working on a project. It was an environmental study of around the school's area. And she's going to talk a little bit about that.
So we had some logging done around ours on our property, and so we went with a GPS and took the coordinate points as points, like the rookery nests, the vernal pools, any other areas that we needed. And then from there, we took those coordinates and we put them onto a spreadsheet, and through that spreadsheet, we then uploaded it to Google, and it plotted those points.
Now, how did you get these points from?
The GPS.
So you walked around, you actually...
Yes, we had to physically go around and go to the areas that we wanted to take the waypoints from and do it that way.
So what are these lines here? What am I looking at here?
Those are the trails, the outer boundaries of the trails where the cutting was done.
Gotcha. And so the entire purpose of this was what?
To look at the effects of logging that occurred, and using those points, we could have a visual display of the areas that we were looking at.
Gotcha. Now I know I heard at one point that you put up cameras as well.
Yep. Trail cameras was another area that we took coordinate points from, and the boys who did that went out to the specific areas and they took those coordinates, and then we used them in the map as well.
Beautiful bobcat.
That's pretty cool. So that's great. So you were able to collect that data and then share it through a Google map or wherever else. Awesome.
Yep.
Let's stop the sharing. Yeah, it looks kind of cool when it's looking at itself. Yeah. So that's awesome. So that's a great way to start. What we're going to do now is we're going to basically show the actual step by step, how you would collect the data with either a GPS or actually enter the data directly, like an address or GPS points, how you turn that into a Google map, and then how do you share that? So let's do it.
All right.
So step one, I'm going to do the screen share here again. Step one, let's pull this back up. So that's what we see. Okay. So let's collect the data first. I'm going to do a new Google form. And this is where I might ask for addresses. One of the case studies, one of the examples that I was asked for is if we had local area businesses around the school and we had students that lived also nearby, and how they could quickly find out how close they lived next to area businesses. So if they wanted to look for jobs, that kind of thing. So we'd have two layers of data there. We'd have one layer which would be the actual students' homes and another layer which would be the actual businesses. So the questions right here, I'm just going to ask two questions. Name, and we'll make that be into a text box like this. We'll try that. And then we'll do another question. In this case, we'll do a paragraph text and we'll ask for an address. So let's require that one. So we know we've created our form. Very simple and very straightforward. This is what I would actually put to the class. I would say, okay, guys, you're going to fill this in. You're going to put your name. Now, in this case, I'll actually put, we'll actually put just schools in here rather than actual student names. And then we'll put the address. Do you guys want the address? It's 337, I think.
226.
Oh yeah, it is
266.
Okay. And then. Okay, so for the address. And once you submit that.
4358. 04953.
Okay, 04953. There we go. That's nice. Okay, so we now have our information. Now, if I come back to the form here and go to View Responses, I'll see a spreadsheet. We'll create one, and we'll call this one, instead of untitled, we'll call this one Maps Engine. And here we are. And we have our information. Now, we only have one data point here, but it's a start. We have one school, and this could be a list of names. This could, of course, be addresses. If I want to put this into a map, and I want to collect this all the way down through, what I would do is I go to my maps, my Google Maps. So we'll say Maps. Here, I'll open that right up. Oops, I don't want that one. I want my maps. There we go. We're going to create a new map right here. We're going to import a layer. This is where I could actually just add a point if I wanted to. In this case, I'm going to import a layer. Now we're going to go right back to our Google Drive. It will take the first tab in the spreadsheet. So if I come back over to here, If you notice our spreadsheet that we use for the GPS, we actually had a couple different tabs for different purposes. So here's original one. We would copy that into different degrees or minutes, depending on what kind of information you were storing. But in this case, we'll just have one tab, the very first one right here, that is our first spreadsheet. Take the map, grab that spreadsheet right here, click select. Oh, we gotta enable pop-ups. Let's do that. Once they have taken that data from the spreadsheet and made it into a map, it will pop right up as its own layer. The benefit of the layers is you could have multiple different data sets. So for example, you could have one set of data that is simply the area businesses and a different set of data that is the set of student addresses or that kind of thing. And that way you could lay those. Oh, it's locked. We should allow that through. Let's see, we have a little issue with our pop-ups. It's all allowed. Let's try to reset it maybe. Didn't take this time. All right, we'll try to import a layer again now that we've allowed pop-ups here. Go to our Google Drive, select the spreadsheet. There it goes. Okay, so the first thing, what are your columns? Now, our first column is going to be the names, timestamp, and address. And these are the ones that automatically come in here. The column that we want to put the place marks at on the map, of course, in this case, would be our address. So that's what we're going to use. We click continue here. And then what's the title of your column? In this case, we'll call it the name. So the name of it on top of where the actual address is. Finish that. Up here, you can see this is its own layer. So we have one point in our map right now. Here's our base map. Let's just change that to contrast. It's a little bit closer here. Okay. I can come in here if I want different styles. If I want to add more information, if I click this little 3 dots here, I could rename it if I needed to, delete it, or I can open the data table. Now, the benefit of that is I could add additional data in here. If I want to come down here, and let's insert a new column right here.
That's the one, I think, right?
Is that the one? I should be able to, there we go, add a row down the bottom here. Perfect. Okay. So this one, we're going to put a name. In this case, we'll put Sebasticook Middle School, which is our middle school. And this address is 337. I'm going to get those backwards, but you'll get the idea. We have them in different places. All right. So now we have 2 different points. And I've added them right directly in. It will pull once from the spreadsheet into the map, but after you've done that, you have to add them manually in the actual map. And here is this layer. Now I can hide that layer if I want. I can bring it back. I can see how far things are away from each other. Let's say I want to measure. I can click on 2 points here. So if this was, for example, an employer, and if I wanted to see how much in a 10-mile radius, I could see which students live closest to it. I can also change, if I want to change the styles. Now, right now, they're all the same style, all this red, as you can see. Grab this for a second. But I could also change this. Let's say I want to do individual styles, and I want to, let's see, we'll put the name above them. So here's the name. And I want to change to a sequence of colors and letters or that kind of thing. Any of these, of course, I can individually change if I want to change the shape of it that way. So when I'm all done, I'll have this nice map, and I can insert this map right directly into my Google site. Back here on the Google site, we just click Insert Maps, and we have this as a choice, and this is always live. So as changes are made in the map itself, this will always be reflected upon in the site itself. Let's stop the presentation. We'll jump back here. Good. So that's how you create a Google spreadsheet and then bring that data into a Google map, which you then, of course, could share everywhere else.
Absolutely. And thank everybody for watching today. If you have any more questions, go to techsherpas.org.
Yep.
Can't remember now. And there's a form where you can submit them.
All right. See you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.